But the idea is you must observe your behavior. You must ask yourself, what would Devil Goofy want me to do? And then you need to find ways to fight that concept off at all costs. So I want to talk a little bit about when the mind calls out to you. Okay, when the mind calls out to you. So the mind is calling out to you and saying, you know what? Don't exercise. Don't exercise today. You'll do it tomorrow. Right? We say, you know what? This is boot camp. We're getting 3 programs a day. I'm going to do 1 program a day. And I see these posts and I see people saying, is anybody else doing 1 a day? Because that is the mind tricking you. That is Devil Goofy saying, hey, come on, you can do once a day. Everybody's doing it. All the cool kids are doing once a day. Nobody's doing all of these things. Well, let me tell you something. This program was designed to be done all in 1 day, and it was designed to be done 42 days in a row because our cars have been stuck on the side of the road for a long time, right? We are trying to undo weeks, months, maybe even years or decades worth of abuse, of neglect. And we would not treat our cars like that, and we would not treat our pets like that. Yet we have no qualms about treating ourselves that way. And so there used to be a song, and it goes, the most important person in the world to you is you, and you hardly even know you. Today, people are like self-esteem based, and they're like, you are very special. You are the most special. You are the most important person, right? Except that some of these people are not that special, and some of these people are not that important, okay? But the way that you have to think about this is the sense that if you are no good to yourself, then you certainly cannot be any good to anybody else, okay? So for me, if I am not good to myself, I cannot be there to help anybody else. And ultimately, if everybody takes the position of my goal is to put the other person first, right? Then we will generally work harder than putting ourselves first. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of selfish people out there. Some of you may be those selfish people, okay? But the idea is just if every once in a while you consider the other person and put them first, that's awesome, right? That's a great thing. But you also have to say, well, I want to put this person first, but you know what? I'm struggling to breathe, or I'm struggling to walk, or I'm struggling to be able to lift this thing up, or get out of bed, or get off the couch, etc., 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 right? So we have to prepare for the fact that if something goes wrong, what are we going to do? Everybody prepares for things that go right, right? There's a saying that says, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. How many of you are prepared for the worst? How many of you have prepared for this day? Financially, emotionally, physically, etc., 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 etc. How many of you have prepared for this day? Now, I don't say that to criticize. I just say that we can say that. We can say, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. But if you hope for the best and don't really prepare for the worst, what are you going to do when the worst comes? And the thing is that is where we really don't have any control, right? Because if we didn't prepare for this day, then we're at the mercy of others. So my point is, work hard to make sure that you are okay. It's like when you're on the plane and they say put on your own oxygen mask before you help the person traveling with you. It's because if you help them first and you can't breathe, you haven't done anybody any justice. So we're talking about the power of the mind, and I want to read from a couple of books. I'm going to upgrade the Pulmonary Wellness reading list tonight. So you know what book number 1 is on the reading list. Ultimate Pulmonary Wellness by this guy, and edited by this guy, and forward by this woman. All right, so here's a quote that's in this book, and it's also in this book, okay, which I will share with you in a moment. That's book number 3. In between these are book number 2. This is a quote by Henry Ford. Henry Ford. Anyone know what I'm going to say? Think for a second. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you are right. If you think you can do it, if you think you can get through boot camp, you will get through boot camp. If you think you can't get through boot camp, you will find every way possible to make sure that you don't get through boot camp. And some of these things are self-fulfilling prophecies that your failure or success was started and determined a long time before you started boot camp. So the idea is, ask yourself, what do you think? Do you think you can get better? Do you think you can get better? Or do you just hope you can get better? Or do you pray you can get better? I hope it's all three, meaning that I hope you think you can get better, and I hope you can get better, and I hope you pray you can get better. But I'm going to tell you something right now. I think you can get better. I hope you can get better. I pray you can get her, but I pray you can get her better, feeling better, right? I pray you can get better. But there's something else. I know you can get better. I know you can get better, and maybe you do know that, and maybe you don't know that. But how do I know that? I know that because I have been watching patients just like you for 26 years get better and better and better and better and better. So there's think, there's hope, there's pray, there's want, right? And then there's know. So I know this, right? Some of you were hoping it, came into this program hoping, and some people have even said to me this was their last hope. And I can tell from the post that people are starting to feel it and think that they can get better. And some of you are starting to know that you can get better. That's what I want. And as Henry Ford says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And the funny thing is that quote is in this book and this book. So again, I might as well update the reading list now. Book number 1 on the reading list, Ultimate Pulmonary Wellness by yours truly. Book number 2 on the reading list, The Healing Power of the Breath by two of my favorites, Richard Brown, MD, and Patricia Gerbarg, MD. And now my newest addition to the book, Kid Trillionaire, How a Little Kid Can Make a Big Fortune by John Luzonis. Okay? Now this kid, let me see how old this kid is. He was 13 years old when he wrote this book. I don't know how old he is now. Kid Trillionaire, okay? And I'm going to tell you what I love about this book. It's not the money-making aspect of it. It's the idea that everything he talks about in terms of wealth applies. And remember when I said to you that you need to think of your health as wealth, right? Your health wealth. So every principle, I read this on the plane, and look at this. There's just so many things that I circled and I made notes on because it's so damn good in this. And I did this because the kid is so smart, and all the things that he talks about with respect to making money and earning wealth are the same principles that go into being healthy and building up your health wealth. So we both say whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Henry Ford. My high school football coach used to say, whether you think you're going to win or you think you're going to lose, either way you're going to be correct. Okay? So that's the first and foremost, so as to get your mind in the right spot. Viktor Frankl. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves, right? So you have your diagnosis, COPD, pulmonary fibrosis, pulmonary hypertension, scleroderma, asthma, cancer, etc., etc., etc. There are things that we cannot control in life. There are things that we cannot change, okay? As I told you many times before, my grandmother used to say, man plans, God laughs. And what that means is that you can prepare everything properly. You can have the best laid plan. Here's another one. The best laid plans of mice and men oft go astray, right? So the idea of this is that shit happens. Shit happens. Shit is gonna happen. Sorry if you don't like the word shit, but shit happens, right? So the idea is that while we can't control our diagnosis, while we can't control every diagnosis, right? And we can't control every medical condition, we can control ourselves. We can change the way that we respond to these types of things. And the best way to do that is mindset, behavior change, etc., etc., etc. And as the Greek philosopher Heraclitus of Ephesus said, the only constant in life is change. So for me, I usually expect to win. I usually expect to be successful in the things that I try to do. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to play professional basketball here, but most things that I get into, I expect to be able to find a way to be successful at it. But I also have in the back of my mind the fact that, hey, you know what? This could totally fail. Look at this program, okay? Do I expect it to succeed? Yeah, I expect it to be amazing, but it could bomb. Again, I've said it before. I'll say it again. It could bomb. I don't think it's going to bomb. I don't expect it to bomb. And I'm not going to say I know it's not going to bomb. I'm not there yet, okay? I hope it doesn't bomb. I pray it doesn't bomb. I don't think it's going to bomb. I think it's going to succeed. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure. I'm 90% sure. Why? Because I feel like I am going to do whatever it takes to make it work. I refer to my team as Malcolm X therapists, right? And what I mean by that is by any means necessary. That is what we will do to make sure that we are successful. And so what I say to you is, and I'm not talking about politics at all, okay? But adopt the attitude of by any means necessary. Whatever it takes for me to get better, that is what I'm going to do. If it means I have to exercise, I may not like exercise, but this is part of the recipe. This is what it takes. I may not want to eat right. I may want to have this cupcake, but instead I'll have this broiled salmon and broccoli, right? I may not want to love this broiled salmon and broccoli, but guess what? If I want to get better, that's what it's going to take. I may not want to meditate. I may hate meditating. I may live someplace where if they see me meditating, they're going to kick my ass just for meditating, right? But if I want to get better and meditation is a part of that, then I have to do it. I don't want to take these medicines, right? But if I want to get better, if I want to feel good, I have to do it, etc., etc., etc. You get the idea, right? Ralph Waldo Emerson, knowledge is the antidote to fear. Fear is the factor that prevents us from doing so many different things. There are people that believe that there's only two real emotions in life, love and fear, and that everything else that we feel is a derivative of one or the other. So what I ask you to do is to stop being afraid. We don't know what the future brings, okay? But whatever that is, we will deal with it each step of the way. We will deal with it one step at a time. Here's one from Voltaire. It says, the most important decision is to be in a good mood, okay? Think about that. The most important decision is to be in a good mood. That's a decision you can make, okay? In around 1995, when I was working at NYU, it was late in the day, and I was heading for an elevator, and I went into an elevator where a nurse that I knew was already in the elevator, and she said, how are you doing? And I said, I'm tired, right? How many people find themselves saying, I'm tired a lot, right? It's become a habit in a way. And then I said to myself, I had an amazing realization, and I said to myself, wait a second, I am not tired. Why on earth did I say that I'm tired? I don't feel good today, right? But then think about it. What's bothering you? Is it the same stuff that bothers you every day? Is it worse today? Or is it maybe even a little bit better? Get out of the habits and get out of the pattern of putting yourself down. And I consider that to be putting yourself down. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I don't feel well today. I'm bored. How are you doing today? Another day. Start putting yourself in a position to be successful. Start saying things out loud and to other people and writing things down and saying them to yourself that are going to reinforce the positive, right? Remember I told you about Just Say Yes with Ralph Buckley. The New York State Lotto jackpot, the New York Lotto jackpot is now $1 billion, right? And the idea is just say yes. Just say yes to life. Just say yes to feeling good. Just say yes to exercise. Just say yes to eating right. Just say yes to taking your medications properly. Just say yes to meditating and managing your stress. Just say yes to prevention of infection, okay? Make that decision today. I commend you all, okay? You're doing amazingly. You're here still, right? Today is day number 9, and you're still hanging in there, right? We're still here, 9 days. Think about the last time you did anything for 9 days straight. Congratulate yourself and make the decision to keep on making those positive decisions and make the decision to keep on taking care of yourself in a positive way and make the decision that when Devil Goofy starts telling us what we should and shouldn't do, we say, you know what? You've been a friend to me for all this time. I won't say a good friend, but you've been around for all this time. But I really can't take your advice anymore. I really cannot listen to the things you say because every time I listen to you, I wind up feeling worse about myself, right? So every time I listen to you, I wind up feeling worse about myself. Every time I decide not to exercise, I feel worse about myself. Every time I decide to eat that brownie, I feel worse about myself. Every time I let my stress and anxiety cause me to engage in behaviors that are harmful to me, like lashing out at others, I feel worse about myself. Right? So start making the decision to do the things that make you feel better about yourself. Take your medications properly, right? Don't just do it because it's convenient. Don't give up the short-term, don't give up the long-term benefit for the short-term, not so big benefit. Every time you exercise, make the decision to exercise because you know that when you do, you're going to feel better afterwards, right? I always say the hardest minute in the gym is minute number 1 because if you can get your ass to the gym, it's usually not as bad as you envisioned it in your mind, right? Every time you make a decision to eat something healthy, you're going to feel better about yourself. Every time you make a decision to eat some crap, you're going to feel worse. And you're going to ask yourself, why did I do this to myself? Every time you make a decision to meditate or do some of the breathing exercises, you will feel better about yourself. You feel me? You understand what I'm saying? So again, the mind is a very, very powerful entity. It's going to do everything possible to control us, to trick us, to fool us into doing things that make it feel good through endorphin release, right? It's like a drug. But you know what else makes us feel good through endorphin release is exercise, meditation, eating well, etc., etc., etc. And then those things are the bridge to going back to your bowling league, watching your grandchild perform in a play, going to the theater, etc., etc., etc. So again, just say no to Devil Goofy. And it sounds funny, but you know what? Spend the next 3 days saying to yourself, what would Devil Goofy want me to do? And then do the exact opposite. Just say no to Devil Goofy. All right? Say yes to you. Say yes to Angel Goofy. Angel Goofy's your friend. Devil Goofy, he's a friend, but he's not, he loves you, but he doesn't have your long-term best interests at heart. All right? Hope that helps. Have a great, amazing day, everybody. Bye-bye.